discoveries that they made drilling through the unguarded utility corridor behind their cells. Oars would play his accordion during music hour in the prison, an hour set aside each day for music to be piped into the prison as a method of calming the prisoners down. Once they could fit through the holes, the men set up a makeshift workshop in the empty each